which is interesting.
Yeah, I guess that was the trend in makeup at the time. Just have possibly like large Kylie Jenner lips and, not be able to move your mouth very well.
That tiny Ron Taylor is the actor's name. He played basketball for 3 years, then he moved on to movies. He was the really tall guy in the Naked Gun movies that no one could see his head.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Now, this movie, though, there's one scene that really pulled me out of it, and it's the scene where the Rocketeer kicks Lothar right in the plums. And it sounds like the Rocketeer hits concrete. And he basically bruises his shin, and Lothar just looks at him like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, that's never really explained. It was a very Jaws from James Bond moment where you're like, oh, if James Bond punches him in the mouth, he's going to hurt himself because his freaking mouth is metal. But you didn't really get an explanation as to why he's got steel nads.
I mean, now, watching it again, though, he is pretty athletic for a 7-footer when he runs. I don't know if you noticed that.
I mean, I'm too busy looking at his ridiculous mouth and his shoulder pads. He kind of looks like a weird version of Frankenstein's monster.
He folded a guy in half.
Yeah, that was another thing. I think that's his big intro, right, where he's called to the hospital to take somebody out, and it's very violent, the sounds. And I like how artful that is, right? There's nothing much seen, right, but it's all implied. There's lots of screaming. It's very not sugar-coated, and then you find his body all mangled, and it's not bloody necessarily, but your mind, the theater of the mind, right, creates the scene for you, and I think you're like, oh man, this guy's actually terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I love that mobster too. I ain't telling you nothing, say. Like, I only talk to Bigelow.
Oh, all of the old-timey talk is so welcome. Like, it feels more natural than it did maybe in Dick Tracy, which I think was a bit ostentatious with that aesthetic, which I guess is fine because it's supposed to be over the top. I mean, it's freaking Warren Beatty in a yellow, duster or whatever. But yeah, this one, it felt a little bit more welcome and warm, and I didn't sort of wince at it.
The production design in Dick Tracy's great. I love the color palette, just how much they committed to it.
Oh, it's all primary colors. Yeah. It's sort of the Sin City before its time, I suppose.
Yeah, but but you're right though. It's the police officer and the nurse, and they're watching a show.
Well, they're listening to a serial. It's the radio serials.
Oh yeah, and someone's screaming, right?
Yeah.
And then he's screaming in the background.
Mm-hmm. And it's the classic. Oh, is it from the radio, or is it from the operating room, or the waiting room?
I did think he was pretty gangster when Lothar just pulled out guns and started wiping out the G-men.
Does he? I can't remember. Does he pull out like two? Is he double fisting?
Yeah, he double fist. Because him and the Rocketeer are looking at each other. Then they come to the door and they both look like, huh?
Yeah.
And then Lothar just pulls out guns and starts shooting. Like he wipes out an FBI agent.
Sure.
Wipes him out. I thought that was kind of gangster.
Mows him down.
Now, have you ever read that Far Side comic where there's a rhinoceros holding a knife, and one of the guys in the Serengeti's like, "There's a rhinoceros. Watch out! That's a rhinoceros with a knife." But the knife is really tiny in the rhino's hands. That's what this guy looks like when he pulls a knife. It just he didn't need it.
Okay, first of all, let me answer your question. Absolutely not. I've never seen that. And second of all, I kind of adore the fact that was the most probably esoteric reference, trying to simplify a scene from a movie like The Rocketeer that you could possibly pluck from.
It was good, man. Far Side. Read it as a kid. I was precocious.
You were precocious.
Slightly feral.
Slightly.
I was like the kid from Mad Max. If he had 1 year of schooling.
All right, that's pretty accurate too. I'll give you that. One thing I really enjoyed, by the way, before I forget, Terry O'Quinn.
Oh, so good.
Terry O'Quinn as Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes not, peeing in mason jars, losing his mind, spiraling out of control via the Leo DiCaprio vehicle, but just a really great short, not a whole lot of screen time. Appearance by Terry O'Quinn as Howard Hughes. I loved that. And that goes into our point earlier, right? The historical fiction. They're integrating and weaving in these iconic Hollywood land and aviation fixtures right into a whole new story. It just feels cool.
All right, how about this? We could keep talking about this movie, but let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more Terry O'Quinn. I want to talk about Lost, too.
And his mustache.
And his mustache, and the show Lost. And then we have another listener question that we'll answer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And that's a heck of a mustache on it. That's a wafer-thin mint pencil mustache.
That's like a number one lead pencil mustache. If number two is the standard, that would be a number one lead.
I've never seen you with facial hair, but have you ever had a mustache?
When's the last time you saw me, Mark? I have facial hair now, and I've never not had facial hair for the last 10 years. Has it really been that long?
I don't know. Facebook, I guess I see it, but I don't really look on Facebook much.
Oh, that's fair. Sorry, what was your question?
Well, I mean, have you ever had a pencil-thin mustache?
No, I don't actually think that's achievable for me. My hair grows in such a way that's just a bit out of control. So I'd have to try very, very hard. How does one actually – that's a great question. How does one achieve it? Because that to me looks like an affair that includes lots of copious wax.
Lots of wax, and just you have to work at it every day.
Yeah, but gosh, I mean – I've gone barefaced. I've had some real woodsman beards in my time, but you got to imagine eating with something like that right above your lip has got to be super just annoying. Because, how do you even lick your lips?
That would feel kind of gross, wouldn't it?
Absolutely gross. And conducive to what? What look are you going for?
The only time I ever have a mustache is when I shave my beard and I just leave my mustache for a little while to...
Oh, sure. That's what every guy does in, the few seconds he has to make up his mind.
Yeah, and then I see it, and I walk around the house for a little bit. Megan, my wife, is like, "Oh, brother," and then I debate whether I want to go out in public with it, and then I just shave it off.
You've never gone more than a couple minutes of just annoying her? You haven't stretched it out?
Nah, because it just, I don't know, man. It just feels like prodding, and I would hate it if that happened to me. And I don't think I have. If I had a stronger chin, I could do a mustache. If I had like Sam Elliott, you know what I mean, Tom Selleck.
Sure. I
would do it, but I don't have a good enough chin.
I'm not sure it's about the chin, to be honest. I think people make a fuss about the jawline and the chin, but I think it's the whole package. I think there's too much going on with the center of the face and the weighting, right? Because if you got a lopsided looking half, it looks all off. I think there's more at play. Yeah, but I also agree. I think you're probably better off living without a pencil mustache.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it tonight. I'm gonna see. I don't like. I mean, I just grow a beard and I get sick of it and I shave it. I don't even keep this thing up.
It must be nice.
I just let it grow. So do I. I did have I watched that movie Maniac probably in 2002.
Which one? The Elijah Wood one?
No, the one with
or the original one.
No, I think wasn't it Maniac with Don Cheadle and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel? They did a movie.
If they did, there's been too many movies called Maniac because there's a horror movie named Maniac. There's a horror movie remake named Maniac. There's a show, I believe, from Sweden called Maniac, and there's a Netflix remake with Jonah Hill and Emma Stone called Maniac. There's a lot of Maniacs out there.
I don't know if it is Maniac, but JGL had under the chin hair. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That you could kind of grab. You know how people stroke their beard?
Almost like a neck beard.
Yeah, so I had just that piece. I don't know what I was thinking, man.
Oof, that sounds rough.
Yeah, I pulled it off, though, because I didn't, not for 1 second was I self-conscious about it, and no one ever brought it up.
It's how you wear it. Yeah, you can't, walk, even if you have the most badass pencil mustache. If you're walking around strutting you got a pencil mustache, it's probably kind of cringe. But if you're walking around, you're not showboating, you're probably fine.
John Waters does a great job with a pencil mustache.
That's right. It's kind of a Dolly thing, right? He kind of has that svelte, pale, thin man look, so I think it works for him.
His book is very good, by the way, Shock Value. He wrote his autobiography. So if you're ever into independent filmmaking, dirt cheap, kind of learning how Waters got his start, he wrote a very good book. So I recommend that. He
also famously said that you should never go home with somebody and, F them if they don't have books. Says if you go home with somebody and they don't have books, don't F them. So
yeah, I mean
that gets parroted a lot, especially on dating apps. It's cool, you like John Waters and maybe you have a book. Congratulations.
Maybe I should keep my Infinite Jest book out.
Oh man, I don't know. That's getting into some that's territory that's going to take too long to unpack.
I was not even familiar with that. So
That's too much baggage there, my friend.
I just read it on my Kindle.
Oh yeah, you just as one does with Infinite Jest, you just read it,
yeah,
and then you never tell anybody about it.
Is that what you do?
No, absolutely not. The thing you do is you spend an evening on Wikipedia exploring his life story. Right, and then you go out and buy Infinite Jest because of all the things that are written about it, and then you tell people and show them on social media that you have the book and you are on a mission to read it, and then you get 20 pages in and you just give up. and you don't tell anybody. You cannot tell anybody because then you'd be a failure. But yeah, to own infinite jest is to give up on infinite jest, but it's to also let everybody know that you've engaged with infinite jest. And maybe David Foster Wallace's other works, I don't know.
I bonded with it because they talked about tennis. They talked about filmmaking, and then they also talked about addiction. So it was like, hey, it was interesting. I don't know. He was messing with me, but I think I'm stubborn, more stubborn than most people. Does that make sense?
I mean, that's verifiably true if you are one of the few people who actually finished it. And that's not a judgment on the book's quality. I certainly can't say as somebody who hasn't tried, but I'm just pointing out the trends and the what I'm seeing, and it's the major observation to be had.
Did you ever watch The British Office?
Of course I did.
Could you picture David Brent having that book in his house and pointing at it going Infinite Jest?
Absolutely, yes.
And just Gervais is pointing at it? Did you read it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, what did you think? Well, it was great.
That's actually a great lost scene you're just describing. Now, that wouldn't work necessarily for the Carell version. I don't think that the Steve Carell's Michael Scott even had that sort of pop cultural awareness. But you're right. I think David Brent, I think that was his name. He might. I could easily see him doing that.
Nailed it. All right. So what else haven't we covered in this movie? I love the sets. I love when they go to the South Seas Club. And
the place Jenny's trying to get into, and no, because Cliff only wants to go to the airfield because he's a good old down-home boy, can't afford much. But
could Cliff and Jenny afford that place?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Not yet. I think, but they built that, dude. That's a warehouse. That's a full stage.
Yeah.
There's a giant clamshell.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful art. It's an Art Deco dream.
Yeah. I mean, and I was reading a lot about, when I read about this movie, Art Deco pops up everywhere for it.
I mean, if there's a movie for Art Deco, and there are many, I would argue this is the dream. This is the bar, right? Oh. Even the beautiful poster, which I obviously can't replicate for your listeners. I implore you to Google it. It's so simple. It's all lines. It's all shades of color. It's just a perfect vector of Art Deco. And a font, I mean, we all know what Art Deco font looks like. Like, it's all there.
Maybe I should show this to my students. Because I just taught them about brutalist architecture in cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really easy to show.
Sure.
That'd be easy to do some of this. Teach them some Deco. And have them yawn in about 5 minutes.
There's plenty of examples to choose from. But like I said, if you
I just like this movie.
Yeah, every frame you can find something. I mean, if nothing else, the costume design there is no word besides Art Deco except iconic, right? There's no other word for it.
This movie didn't win an award for costume design, and I would say that they had a basis for the Rocketeer, but the way they designed that was beautiful. Also, Jennifer Connelly's dress at the end. I mean, that's really great costume design.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic. I don't want to say trope necessarily, but the lean to put the damsel in white, right? It goes back a long, long time, and I don't need to remind anybody, but the way she wears it, she's just a knockout. She's a classic Hollywood beauty in every sense of the word. I think 4 or 5-year-old me, something was awakened when I saw that. Now,
Dalton, he's so creepy when he tries to give her that other outfit, and it's like so he knocks her out. Oh, also, I got to talk about this. In this movie, bonking people on the head is a major theme.
Mm-hmm.
In the Margot Nightingale from The Americans that everybody remembers her from. But yeah, Margot, she bonks a mobster in the head in the Bulldog, knocks him out. And then Margot Martindale. And then on 2 separate occasions, Jennifer Connelly bonks people.
Right.
There's a lot of head bonking going on in this movie.
Yeah, it's a classic way to subdue somebody, right? What are they going to do? Put them in a chokehold? It's not like Jenny's lifting weights. It's you grab the near heavy object and pray they're unconscious. It's just the way it goes.
Bonk them in the head?
Yes.
But so Dalton knocks her out with chloroform. When she comes back to save the Rocketeer, he wants to send her away, and Jenny's like, no. She comes back, gets captured, damsel in distress. But he wakes her up, and so he kidnaps her. And then he goes, hey, put this on. And he hands her a black nightie.
Yeah, it's a weird, well, it's not a weird moment. It's a fun moment of an actor playing an actor who's acting against another actor. So it's sort of a battle of wits, and obviously we know who wins that battle because she proves to be the superior actor. But yeah, it's an odd thing where he's like, yeah, I know I just like